Welcome to another episode of the Next Chapter community and podcast. I'm really excited to introduce you to Manaz, today's guest. So, just for a little context, I met her through Instagram. I've been following your beautiful artwork and fell in love with it immediately. And then I really was drawn to one of your pictures from your Say Now series. And remember having a conversation through Instagram Messenger about what that meant to you and how kind of the inspiration was how your child was constantly asking you for things right away. And it was a reminder that, to live in the present moment. So I figured you would be the perfect guest to be able to share how you balance your passions and well-being alongside motherhood. So welcome.
Thank you. Hi, Andrea.
Hi. Well, I'm excited to finally actually get a chance to speak to you. And so, of course, that's what connected us. But I also wanted to kind of start at the beginning of your journey. I know that, I'm on the East Coast, you're in California in beautiful San Diego. That's not where you kind of grew up. So if you could kind of take us back to your childhood and your background and share a little bit about your childhood backgrounds and kind of how that may have influenced you in your life as a mother.
Yes, so I grew up in Normandy, France. So I was born and raised in a very small town called Alençon.
Bonjour, je parle
Bonjour.
français aussi.
Ah, très bien. So yeah, I grew up in France. My parents are from Afghanistan. They're both from Kabul. But I grew up in a very French town. We're the only Afghan family. I had a pretty, even though I was from a different background, a pretty normal upbringing, surrounded with a lot of art because France is just, that's how it is. We're all
Mhm.
exposed to art. There's art everywhere. But I mean, this then like fast forward through like after high school, college, I decided to move to the US. Moved to California about, oh my God, now it's been, yeah, 15, almost like 15 years and 10 solid years since I've been married to someone who's from here. But yeah, that's the sort of summary of my background, having these three different cultures following me around or being inside of me.
Well, that's wonderful. And we're going to get into how that kind of has inspired you into your beautiful artwork and where you are now. So I mentioned that we connected through your beautiful artwork, but I'm curious, is that where your journey kind of began? I know you mentioned that you were in high school in France, but can you kind of start from there and then how you progressed into your artwork?
Yeah. So in high school, I was very drawn to the arts, and I was lucky enough to be part of. We can pick our majors in France. So I was a literature major and a theater major. And the theater world was more studying the art of theater rather than acting.
Mhm.
And that was part of my high school education. But we decided, I mean, in France, then you decide your major, obviously, after high school, also when you go to university. And for my parents, that was not an option to go into an art major. And it was not a strong decision from them, but it was sort of understood that this was not going to be something you can do for your career. So I decided to move to the US to learn English. My sister was already here. She was married. She's older than I am. So she was already married to an American. So I came to study English here. We were in the Bay Area in San Francisco. And it was a good experience, I think, just to learn it. I grew up very quickly because that was not the fun of going to college. It was more like, okay, you need to learn English, a new culture. It was all, even driving in the highway in the US.
Right.
And I come from a small town in France, so everything. I had my stick shift in San Francisco, which is ridiculous because, I mean, why would you have a stick shift there? But it was a learning more. Like almost like put my education aside. I was still studying, but I was not passionate about anything I was doing at school, but I was more learning about myself more and growing up very quickly. Um, then I started, and it was learning about myself was also learning about my culture. And because in France I was the Afghan girl, and moving to the US I had a much thicker French accent when I moved here. So then I was a French girl, so I was getting to know more, like learning more about my identity,
Mm-hmm.
and growing up as a young adult. Um, and I was always back and forth. I would go back to France, then come back here, then started not knowing where I wanted to be because I didn't feel like I belonged in France anymore, and I didn't feel like I fully belonged in the US. And I was also studying something that I didn't want to study. My sister was a teacher, a French teacher
Mm-hmm.
here. So I was like, oh, she's a teacher. Maybe I should be a teacher too. So I did that, and it didn't quite work for me. It's not what I was passionate about. Decided to move back to France in my early 20s, and that didn't work either because I didn't belong there anymore, and everybody had moved on. Like my friends, they, even for schooling, they were already done with school, or it was just I was not part of that life anymore. um, so I moved back here, but I decided to move by myself, not with family
Mm-hmm.
anymore. And because my parents were still insisting of me studying, I went for my master's. I did a master's in HR management to be sure to get a job, which I never used. And I didn't study art anymore after high school. Then I was in San Francisco. Then I got a job in tech, which was fun because it was creative, but
Mm-hmm.
I actually I liked working in tech. It was very creative, but it still wasn't what I wanted to do. Um, and I always called myself an artist in the closet before like coming out and to the world and
Right.
sharing. So I was still doing art, but it was truly my own. No one knew about it, and I was not painting the way I paint now, but I was always creating. Um, then fast forward, and I met my husband in San Francisco. Um, I met him a month before I had decided to move back home, move back to France.
Wow.
So I've always been like back and forth between my decision of where I should be living. But when I met him, it just clicked. I was like, okay, now I'm here. It it just it just clicked. Like sometimes, like when they say you know, that's how it was
Mm-hmm.
for him and I. And then we got married. I mean, this is like fast forward to like 2 years later, we got married. I still worked in tech. Um, then from San Francisco, we moved to San Diego. And I'm a planner. I'm a major planner. And I knew that I didn't want to have an 8 to 5 job and having children. And I knew I wanted children. And I loved art. We both, my husband was very supportive. So I'm very lucky. And he's like, what do you want to do? And I told him I love painting. I want to paint. So he's like, why don't you paint then? It's as simple as that. I'm like, oh, yeah. He told me, quit your job and just start painting. Like, do what you have to do. Find classes. You want to go to school, anything you want to do. And that's how it started. I started painting on the floor of our beautiful apartment. Had tarps everywhere. He would go work, and I mean, like you would dress up for work and go, and I would be in my paint clothes, and we come back home and there was paint everywhere, and I was the happiest then, and it grew from there. I kept going, and I never
Wow,
stopped painting.
that is such a beautiful story. There's so many things that I wanted to highlight that you shared along your journey. The first is that I can 100% relate to your experience of really kind of finding yourself, and when you moved from France to the US. I actually, I'm not going to embarrass myself right now and speak all in French. I actually majored in French at the University of Michigan. And when I was in ninth grade high school, I was an exchange student, and I lived in the south of France in a little village called Auribeau-sur-Seine. And I can relate that I had only had 1 year of French, and I had no idea what I was doing. And so there's a lot of, kind of soul searching and growing and learning that took place. And I really appreciate from your journey that you continue to be open and honest with yourself and trying to figure out where do you belong, where do you fit, what's going to make you happy, what's going to fulfill you. And then also understanding planning that you wanted to have a family and that you went into teaching, and that the teaching aspect just didn't feel right for you, and that you again had the courage to continue to grow and learn, and that it's now turned into this beautiful work of art. Not only the journey that you're following and the art that you're able to do. And so I wanted to ask you then, kind of, because motherhood is important to you, to kind of share your experience of motherhood alongside your journey as an artist.
Wow. Yes. So I became a mother when 5 months before, or no, 8 months before COVID really hit. So I was, I think when having young children and having an infant and the world had shut down and I wasn't able to travel to see my family, or my family wasn't able to travel here to help also. So it's
Mm-hmm.
very interesting. It was my husband and I and Xander, my oldest, and COVID. So, and my art. So I think um, my art really grew during COVID because as a young mother, I needed an outlet, and art always made me happy, and it was easy. It always came to me very, very easily, and I've never been the depressed artist or the sad. Like I've never been that. So
Mm-hmm.
it was a way for me to cope with everything that was going on in the world, and being able to connect with the rest of the world. And that's also when I started Instagram, because that's all we had during COVID.
Right.
Um, so it was, for me, motherhood came as I wasn't, we're not ready. I don't think anyone is ready to be a mom. I think
Mm-hmm.
when you become a mom, then you just learn as you go. For me, that's how it's been. I had an idea of it, but I didn't know I was going to be that tired. I didn't know that my body was going to change so much. I didn't know I was going to love so much. Also, there's so much,
Mm-hmm.
and there's so much new things that you're told about, but you don't know until you actually feel them or experience them.
Right.
Um, and I really took, now looking back, I think for us, COVID happened. We were very lucky that COVID happened when we had infants and not children in school. So it allowed us to really bond as a family and really spend with my oldest. We, till this day, like he's glued to me because he was with me all the time.
Right.
I would paint when he napped. I'm very lucky because my boys both nap a lot. They're great sleepers,
That's
and
good.
they're both sleep trained very, very early. So that was my time, and I was able to spend time with him. Then I had a set schedule. We had to have a schedule. It was baby time, then painting time, then walking time with the family. Um, it worked out. It really, we got very lucky. And I always now look back and say, we had babies anyways during COVID. So that was the best time. We were stuck. If COVID would have not happened, I would have been stuck at home too, probably for the first, I don't know, 6 months to 9 months, a
Right.
year. Um, so for me, yeah, we made it work, and motherhood happened at the right time almost. Yeah, it was.
Well,
Yeah.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate how you understand that motherhood it's a journey. We're always learning, and in every stage, at every age, there's something new and interesting. And I appreciate that you know what your passion and outlet is, and that you obviously your passion and outlet is also the work that you do. And for some mothers, those two may not align, but it's so important that mothers have that passion, that
Mhm.
outlet beyond the kids' activities and all of that, and something for yourself to really fulfill you. And so I would ask, on the kind of the flip side, are there moments, or have there been moments when you kind of have felt misaligned from your purpose or passion, or trying to kind of balance it all?
Oh yes, many. I would say many moments, because again, as a mother and as a woman, we take the most, I think we have the most burden of parenthood. And for me, time is very, very valuable. And when I had felt that my husband was getting the time to work for or do whatever he's passionate about, and I would not get the same time because I was on mommy duty, or because also as a mother you're more, even though you don't have your kids with you all the time, I feel like emotionally you're so connected to your children. At least for me,
Mm-hmm.
when one of them cries or is hurt or needs something, I feel like I have that need. It's inside of my body that's happening. So that burden takes a toll, and you have to really make sure that you recenter yourself and
Mm-hmm.
do whatever fulfills you or heals you in order to be your best self for yourself and for your children. So I had many moments during COVID when or even after, feeling isolated because I don't have my family here, and feeling like I had to do it all, and I'm someone that wants to do it all, so it's a gift and a curse,
Uh-huh.
to the point that I get burned out, and I it takes me days to come back to recenter and come back to myself. um, but for me, it's mainly the fact that I don't have probably my family here to just say like, hey, can you like make dinner tonight, or can you just pick up
Right.
Xander from school, things like that. So, and it adds up. So I think for us, we make sure to over communicate and over. I'm a planner, so plan things ahead that I know what to expect, and I guess there's less unexpected because there are always unexpected things
Right.
happening. Um, but yeah, I think it takes work for to be able to cope and deal with all of that parenthood brings to the table, plus the rest of life.
100%. And I think that is a very normal feeling that mothers have. I've had many conversations where mothers really feel that burden, and where we're, these do it all mothers. I recently actually posted on Instagram these do it all mothers that were superheroes wearing a superwoman cape, because we think we can do it all, and we know we can.
Hmm.
It's just the question is at what kind of cost,
Hmm.
cost to your own well-being, your mental health, and as well as to kind of the quality of um, experiences that you have with your family members and your
Hmm.
children, and what is it that you want to model for them. And so I always ask kind of what kind of support systems are people able to put in place. And obviously when you don't have family that is close to you, it can be hard. I mean, my husband's family lives very close to us, and so we're fortunate to be able to lean on them, but my family is an airplane ride away.
Hmm.
And so I can really relate to that. And so it's, kind of getting creative with support systems, whether it's, kind of bartering with friends to take care of the kids sometimes, or like you mentioned, having a solid communication with your partner to share when you need some support, when you need your kind of downtime. And
Absolutely.
so, kind of on that note, as far as we've talked a little bit about the support system, but what kind of boundaries have you set up, or non negotiables for you that you need to kind of have in your life to keep you, Manaz, ticking as an artist, as a mother, as a spouse, and as, a beautiful human being? So, what are your kind of non negotiables?
Non-negotiables are that no matter what, I need to move my body every day. I try to journal also every day, which is part of a little meditation. That's even if
Mm-hmm.
it's 5 minutes a day. But also, I have invested so much into my passion, which is art, painting, that it has become my business, and I treat it as if I was working as someone in corporate America. So if I was a working mom 8 to 5, I would have to have a nanny, and that's what I do too at home. That's I have set times I spend with my children. Then I have set times when I go in the studio and I do my work. And I think from the beginning, I was very lucky to take a business class for art, and that was very inspiring to
Hmm.
treat my passion not as a hobby. It is my I'm lucky enough to love what I do, and I need to respect it as if it's my career. I'm working towards. I have a goal. I have projects. So I really treat my passion as my job, as my work. And I have decided, we both, my husband and I, decided to have a full-time nanny at home for us to be able to 100% be present at work and 100% being present at home with our children or with each other. So I think it may not work for everybody, but him and I always draft a schedule weekly, and then we respect it. If it's date night, it's date night. And if I have an art delivery and I have to drive to LA, then that's what I'll do. And we draft a very strong weekly schedule, and we also go by quarter, just getting an overview of what's going on in our lives, to really be able to be present in everything that we do. I think, and that's the way I function. And
Hmm.
I have less stress when it's that way. And I understand that some people get more stress, like planning ahead. But I cannot work last minute, or I cannot, even planning a meal sometime for my kids. If it's that minute, I get stressed out. But if I know what I'm doing a few days prior, like, oh, tonight is this meal, it's so much easier. It just flows better. And I'm able to be more present in a happy way with my children. But yeah, that's sort of like how it's been working for us, and it works well for now.
Well, no, there's a lot to learn from that because planning, having, like you said, solid communication with your partner and with yourself, and putting in the kind of boundaries that you need and the support that you need in order to be able to function, and like you said, to be able to be present in your career and to also be present in your family life is so important. So we definitely can learn from that. And I appreciate, even in your Instagram posts, it's so inspirational when you post a picture of your your bike, your Peloton bike, in your studio, or some other piece of workout equipment in your weights, because it really is such a reminder to people and mothers and women and just people in general that there is that delicate balance.
Hmm.
And you really need to check in with yourself. And when you're feeling off a little bit, it's like, okay, well, where am I off? Am I not, like you said, your non negotiable is movement. Am I not moving my body enough? And maybe you're moving your body too much and you're not spending enough time in the studio. So it can go both
Yeah.
ways, but really having that check in with yourself when your non-negotiables aren't being met.
Hmm.
So I think that that's really kind of important. And you talked about a little bit about movement, and I was curious also just kind of your definition of self-care, because I think self-care to everyone, every woman, every mother, is so different. So kind of how do you, as a mother, describe that?
Um, when I first became a mother, I've noticed that I was not getting ready in the morning, and that really bothered me. I didn't feel like myself, not just waking up and being a mother right away. There was no transition into like falling into like myself first and checking in, even for a few minutes, um, and also looking like my old self or my new self as a mother that's put together. So the perfume, and it was COVID also, so it really bothered me that I was not ready for the day. So the number one thing that I do every day when I wake up, I wake up before everybody just to get ready, whatever that means. Like I put whatever outfit that I like that day. It could be, I mean, it could be sweats, but then like put together, like to myself to feel good. I do a little makeup on, And then I get my day ready. Then and then I make breakfast for my children, wake them up. But that's been really, really helpful to feel good. Just like that first,
Mm-hmm.
because I think that for me, if I don't feel good when I wake up, if the first half an hour to an hour, if I'm stressed, if I'm checking emails or I'm rolling out of bed and taking a quick shower and going, like it just doesn't work for me. I need to take half an hour just to be with myself, get ready, and very like in peace without anyone
Mm-hmm.
asking me for anything. Then everything is easier. So that's the first thing that I do every single day. And then having pockets of time, like my first half an hour to an hour is with my oldest, and we have breakfast together, and we talk together. Um, Having a lot of quiet time, not chaotic time. I'm okay waking up or taking more time to do a task, but I cannot do it with an anxious energy around.
Mm-hmm.
It just pulls me towards a bad direction when then it just adds up during the day. Um, but yeah, and then having days when I am, this is something that I'm working on. I feel like every day because I have a nanny and because I'm working full time, I have this weird feeling that I'm not allowed to take a break. So I'm on the whole time. Even if it's even a workout is not really me time, it becomes like, okay, one more thing that I need to fit into my schedule. And I'm trying to being more aware of like it's okay to take a half an hour break and do nothing. Like no, even not listening to a podcast or not reading something, no emails, nothing, no Instagram. So I'm working on that, and I think that would really help me to take a half an hour break because I strongly believe that that half an hour break could bring more productive hours after, rather than just being tense and keep like running after the next to-do list check mark that you have to do. And then I also stick to a schedule. So everything like the pickup time for school, then the time with the kids before dinner, then dinner, and they go to bed at the same time every night. And um, we always sit with my husband at night and have our time, adult times,
Mm-hmm.
and we tell ourselves like sometimes there's no phones, or we don't talk about the life things. Like right now, we just moved to a new house, so we try not to talk about the house things we have to do or just having like a checking in with each other and having a fun time, even if it's half an hour. But yeah, and then we're trying to connect, making sure we stay connected. And yeah, that's sort of and doing a date night once a week also really help. Um, all that is those little things that help being okay.
Well, for sure. I mean, because like I said, the definition of self care is so different for each person. And
Hmm.
um, again, I really appreciate that you mentioned that you were that you didn't kind of feel like yourself, and that if you give that first few moments when you wake up and you kind of, they say, like, put your oxygen mask on first
Yeah.
before
Hmm.
helping others, that if you can make yourself feel like you, um just you, Manaz, before you become the mother, before you become the artist, before, I mean,
Hmm.
those are all parts of who you are, but so that you can feel kind of grounded in really being you, and kind of, I always say, like standing at the center of your universe, then you can kind of easily reach out and do all the other things that you need to do from, like you mentioned, from a grounded state, from standing in the
Hmm.
center and feeling in control of your day versus just jumping immediately into all the tasks. Because we know, you've mentioned it, and we've had already at the beginning of the conversation that mothers are do it all, and we are constantly being asked from the children, and just feeling that constant pull. So I
Hmm.
love that you really honor that you honor yourself, that you stand grounded. And then the last thing that I kind of wanted to touch on as we get ready to wrap up the conversation is when you were saying that you were kind of feeling badly about um, not taking a rest, not pausing, and all of that. I've had a lot of conversations with lately with moms, kind of about the mom guilt, and
Yes.
that we feel like we can't stop or that we can't give to ourselves. I mean, it sounds like you're doing a beautiful job of giving to yourself and recognizing the importance of that. But kind of just wanted to talk a little bit more about that, and if there are any other um, ways that you feel kind of that mom guilt creeping into your life. And then, if that's the case, what kind of you have done or are working on doing to kind of check in with that.
Oh gosh, there's so much guilt. I think it comes with motherhood. Like I didn't even know it
Definitely.
was guilt. I was like this weird feeling inside of me. I was like, oh, that's guilt. um, I mean, it comes up all the time too when if I don't I have this strong feeling that I have to cook every day an organic, healthy meal for my children. And if I miss one day, like I feel really guilty. And for instance, right now, because we moved, we found this new nanny and she's been amazing. We had a nanny that was amazing as well, but she's been cooking. And I haven't asked her, and she's making these amazing meals. And the first week or two was really hard for me because I felt really guilty that I wasn't making the meal. So, and I had to really sit and I spoke to my husband about it. It was like, what do you mean? Like the food is good, the kids are eating. Why do you feel guilty? So I think it's something that we have to, I don't know, I'm aware of it, of this
Mm-hmm.
guilt, or even, um, not, yeah, or like even taking my son to soccer now, he has longer day and he loves it, but I feel guilty that maybe it's too long of a day because he's 4. Or driving him, like is he spending too much time in the car? Am I doing that? All these little questions, they always creep in, and I think the best way for me to cope with it is to talk to my husband because um, he's also their parents. So I was
Mm-hmm.
like, what do you think? So having the discussion and checking in, and
Right.
also seeing your children, and they're both really happy. I mean, I don't think that there's anything else that I could do to make this guilt go away. Also, like, what else could I do without hurting myself?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why would I start cooking more if someone else is like decide by love to, because she loves cooking, she wants to do it.
Right.
So little things like this, and I think it's for me, it's being aware of it, stopping myself, but it always comes up. So I don't know if it's not a solution. I think as a mother, I've heard from my kids are very young; they're 4 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
And when I talk to parents of older children, they say it doesn't go away; it's just there forever. My mom has it, and I'm an adult. I have children. My mom still feels guilty at times, so just
Yeah, I
there.
think it's just a natural feeling and nature of being caregivers and doing for others and wanting to um, provide for others and caring. And I think not necessarily that there's a solution, but it's great that you are aware, because building awareness and having those moments when it does creep up, and you can kind of say, okay, there's my guilt coming in, and also I found what's very helpful is to stop and think about, well, what is it that you want to be modeling, kind of for your children? Like, you
Yes.
want to be able to show them, what's important to you, what are your values, and by having those values, like, how can you model that for them? So if, for example, someone feels guilty, going to work out one day while the kids are at home playing or something, but you want to model that you're taking care of yourself, that it's important that um, I am your mother, but I also am this human that needs to take care of myself, and I
Yeah.
have my own needs too. Or I am a human and I'm a mother and I need to rest, because if I go, my tank is going to be empty. So
Yes.
it's like thinking, kind of reframing when those moments come up and saying, okay, how do I want to model this? How do I want to show up as the best human I can for myself and for my family? So I really appreciate your honesty and sharing that. Mom guilt, definitely. It's
Yeah.
real. It is there. And like I said, to check in. Well, I really appreciate you sharing about your journey, what kind of has worked for you. I know that the listeners of the Next Chapter community will definitely learn a lot from your experience. And is there anything else, any parting words that you wanted to share, any additional gems? You've given us so many
Oh, you're
as
so
we
sweet.
get ready to kind of wrap up this episode.
I think geared towards motherhood and mothers having this guilt that we're talking about. I had also a lot of guilt about having help at home,
Mhm.
but that's something that I felt I've almost become. I've met so many women or moms are like have this shame around like, oh, I'm have to get this person to come and help me with X, Y, and Z at home. But I think we should not feel guilty at all about this. We should be happy and sharing it and then uplifting each other with saying, yes, we do need help because we don't have those villages that we used to have. There's no more tribal motherhood village out there. So
Of course, you got to create
that
your own.
exactly. So I was like, just if you can't do it by yourself, ask for help. Whatever that means for you. If you have to bring someone to your home, asking a neighbor or whatever it is, just ask for help. There's no shame, and we're
100%.
still a super mother. Like just asking for help, it's also a superpower.
100
Yeah.
million%. You said it beautifully. That is a superpower, asking for the help you need. It doesn't mean that you're weak. In fact, it's the quite opposite. It means that you are aware of your needs and what you need and what your family needs to keep yourself functioning at a
Mhm.
high level so you can continue to enjoy life, enjoy the things that are important to you. And again, that comes up a lot. There was a conversation I had the other day with someone that, again, there was that guilt of bringing someone in at the end of the day. They needed someone to come in and tidy up, and some other
Mhm.
people were kind of chiming in saying, wow, that, how could you do that? And I quickly said, if that's what you need to keep you, like you said, to keep you functioning, that's so important. And there's absolutely no shame in it. It's quite, like I said, quite the opposite. If you don't
Mhm.
get the help you need and then you struggle, that's not going to be good for you as a mother or for your children.
Yes.
So I really, really appreciate that you reminded us of the importance of getting the support that we need. And I will link in the show notes where people can get in touch with you on Instagram and check out all your beautiful work that
Thank
every
you.
single day, because it is just fascinating, our process and the love that you put into your work.
Thank you so much, Andrea. This was a great conversation.
Thank you. I appreciate it.